The cafeteria of the Alien Academy was wide and bright, filled with long tables and echoing voices. It was supposed to be a place of peace where young cadets from across the galaxy came to eat and laugh. But on this day, a strange tension filled the air. In the corner of the hall sat a human girl, her uniform plain, her dark hair falling over her shoulders. She was quiet, too quiet for a place so loud. In her hand she held a steaming cup of coffee, her fingers wrapped gently around it. She did not join in the chatter. She did not even look up. She only sipped slowly as if nothing else in the world mattered. The other cadets noticed her. Whispers passed between alien students. Some were curious, others mocking. "That is the human cadet," one alien hissed to another. "They say humans are weak, soft, fragile," another laughed. "Why would they send such a creature here? She will never survive the trials." Their voices grew sharper, louder, like knives cutting into the air. But the girl did not move. She did not flinch. She kept her eyes half closed, her lips calm on the edge of the cup. Then the door opened with a slam. The sound rolled across the hall like thunder. Every head turned and the alien hunters stepped in. They were not students. They were older, soldiers from a warrior race. Their armor scarred, their eyes cruel, their steps heavy with arrogance. "There she is," one of them growled, pointing at the human cadet. "The Academy's great joke." Laughter followed him, harsh and cold. The hunters moved closer, their boots striking against the floor. Cadets around them grew silent. Some backed away, others leaned forward, eager to see the show. The human girl raised her eyes for the first time, her gaze soft but steady. She looked at them, then lowered her eyes back to her cup and took another sip. The leader of the hunters snarled, "You ignore us, human, do. You think your coffee will save you when we tear you apart?" His voice echoed, sharp as broken glass. Still, she said nothing. One of the younger hunters slammed his fist against her table. The cup rattled but did not spill. The girl did not even blink. Her calmness spread unease through the hall. What kind of being could stay so silent in front of such danger? The hunters sneered, but behind their eyes a question started to grow. Why was she not afraid? Some cadets whispered, "Maybe she is broken." Others whispered, "Maybe she knows something." The girl lifted her cup again, her hand steady. Her lips touched the edge. She drank slowly. A sound came then, faint but strange. It seemed to come from beneath the table. A low vibration, like the growl of something vast and dangerous. Most cadets thought they imagined it. But the hunters froze, their ears sharp enough to hear the truth. The leader narrowed his eyes. "What was that?" he muttered, looking around, but the girl only tilted her head, as if she had heard nothing. Her calm was no longer just strange, it was terrifying. The hunters exchanged glances. They wanted to believe she was weak, but doubt began to eat at them. The girl placed her cup back down. Her fingers brushed against the table. Her eyes lifted just a little, and for the first time, a faint smile touched her lips. It was not cruel, not mocking, just calm. Calm in a way that felt heavier than any weapon. The hall was silent now. Even the bravest cadets dared not breathe too loudly. The hunters stood ready, but something in the air had shifted. It was as if a storm was about to break. One hunter stepped forward, his hand reaching for his blade. "Let's see how calm she is when she bleeds," he spat. The girl's gaze met his, her eyes still soft, but inside them burned something hidden, something no one could name. And then the growl returned, louder this time, deep and rumbling, shaking the floor beneath their feet. Plates trembled on tables, cups rattled, voices gasped. The hunters stepped back without meaning to, their bodies reacting before their minds could understand. The girl did not move. She lifted her cup again and sipped. The beast beneath the table shifted in the shadows, unseen but felt by every soul in the room. The hook was set. Fear and curiosity filled the air. What was hiding under that table? And why did the human girl look so calm while doom crept closer? The growl spread through the cafeteria like a living wave. Low and deep, it crawled into the bones of everyone who heard it. Some cadets clutched their trays. Others stepped back, their eyes wide. The silence of the room felt heavier than any battle. The alien hunters stiffened, their instincts screaming. They had fought beasts before. They had faced death on war fronts. But never had they felt a chill like this from something unseen. The leader barked, trying to cover his fear. "Show yourself, human. What trick is this?" His voice cracked, betraying the fear he tried to hide. The girl did not answer. She lifted her coffee again. The steam brushed her face. Her lips touched the cup. She drank slowly, as if she was still alone, as if no danger existed around her. A hunter slammed his weapon down on the table. The wood split. The cup shook. Still the coffee did not spill. The girl only placed it gently back on the surface. Her calmness made the hunters more furious. "Enough games," one snarled, and lunged forward, his claws out, his teeth bared, his muscles coiled with power. The entire hall gasped, but he never reached her. From the shadows beneath the table, something vast and dark moved. The air seemed to shatter with its presence. A claw, black and curved like a blade, shot out. It caught the Hun. Mid-stride, tearing through his chest armor as if it was paper. The hunter screamed, his body lifted into the air, and with a single motion, he was thrown across the room, smashing into a wall. Silence fell again. Silence filled with terror. The creature crawled out from under the table, and every cadet in the room froze. Its body was enormous. 4 legs like steel pillars, fur dark as night, eyes burning with red fire. Its teeth glistened with a cruel shine. The ground trembled beneath its steps. The girl leaned back slightly in her chair, her hands folded on the table, her coffee still steaming. She did not look at the beast. She did not command it. It stood as if it needed no order, as if it already knew her will. The leader of the hunters took a step back, his breath heavy. "A bonded beast," he whispered. "They said it was only a rumor." The cadets whispered among themselves. Bonded beasts were forbidden in the academy. Only the most dangerous races were said to have them. But no one had ever believed that a human of all species could walk with such a monster. The girl finally spoke, her voice calm, soft. "You should not have disturbed my coffee." The hunters roared in rage, shame burning their pride. They drew their weapons, energy blades glowing, their armor flashing under the bright lights of the hall. They moved together, charging at the girl. The beast lowered its head, a growl boiling in its throat. Then it lunged. It was like watching a storm take form. Claws flashed, teeth snapped, armor broke with sickening cracks. One hunter was torn apart in a single strike. Another's weapon was crushed between the beast's jaws. Blood sprayed across the tables. Cadets screamed, running for cover, but the girl remained seated, her eyes calm, her cup untouched now, her gaze never shifting from the hunters. The leader fought harder, his blade clashing against the beast's claws, sparks flying, his roar echoing in the chaos. But even his strength was nothing before the creature's fury. Each strike pushed him back, each growl shook his spirit. "What is this monster?" he cried, his voice full of desperation. The girl's eyes met his, and she said quietly, "It is my friend." That sentence struck harder than any blade. The hunters froze for a moment, their courage bleeding away. They were not fighting a weapon. They were fighting a bond, something born from trust, from training, from something deeper than they could ever understand. The beast crushed another hunter beneath its weight. The ground shook. Screams filled the hall. Yet through all of it, the human cadet looked as calm as ever. Her stillness was more frightening than the beast itself. The leader staggered back, blood dripping from his arm, his chest heaving. He could see the truth now. The girl was not weak. She had never been weak. She had chosen silence because silence was power, and now the galaxy would see it. The last surviving hunter dropped his weapon, trembling. This is impossible," he stammered. "Humans cannot command beasts like this." The girl lifted her cup once more, the steam rising. She sipped slowly, her eyes soft but unshaken. "Humans are full of surprises," she whispered. The cafeteria was filled with gasps, whispers, and fear. Every cadet, every officer watching through the hidden cameras, every alien who had thought humans were prey now stared in silence at the truth. The beast stood tall, blood dripping from its claws, its eyes glowing brighter. It turned back to the girl, waiting. "Loyal?" The girl placed her cup down, her voice steady. "Shall we continue?" The survivors shivered, the air heavy. The first blow had been struck, but the real storm was only beginning. The cafeteria floor was a battlefield. Blood streaked across the tiles, broken weapons scattered. The echoes of screams still clung to the air, but the human girl sat unmoved, her coffee cup resting before her, steam curling gently as if nothing had happened. The beast stood beside her now, no longer hiding in the shadows, its full form revealed to every terrified eye in the hall. Its fur was black as the void, Its muscles rippled with unnatural strength, scars cut across its body like stories of old wars, and its eyes glowed a red so deep it seemed to burn through the soul of anyone who looked too long. Cadets pressed themselves against the walls, their breath shallow, their minds shaking with disbelief. This was not just a beast. It was something ancient, something no alien in the room had ever seen before. The leader of the hunters staggered to his feet, his blade trembling in his hands, his comrades broken around him, his pride shattered. But still he shouted, "This is a trick! No human could tame such a monster." His words sounded empty, even to himself. The girl finally rose from her chair, her movements graceful, calm, like water flowing. She placed her hand gently on the beast's back, its massive body lowered slightly at her touch, a silent gesture of loyalty, of trust. Gasps rippled through the hall. Whispers followed. "Impossible," one cadet whispered. "A bonded pair." Another muttered, "This cannot be real, not with a human." The girl looked at the leader, her voice quiet but sharp as a blade. "You came here to prove humans are weak. You came here to humiliate me. But you never asked yourself why I was so calm." Her words struck like thunder. The beast growled, its claws scraping against the broken tiles. The sound alone made the walls tremble, its gaze fixed on the hunters, but it did not move. Not until she willed it. The leader roared in anger, shame burning. His veins, he charged once more, his blade flashing, his muscles straining, but the beast met him head-on, claws against steel. The clash echoed through the hall, sparks flying. The leader fought with desperation, every strike wild, every motion filled with rage. But the beast was not like anything he had faced. It moved with speed beyond reason, with strength beyond measure. And with every clash, the truth became clearer. This was no ordinary monster. It was something bred for war, something born to kill. The girl's voice rose again, soft, calm, yet carrying across the hall. "This beast is not my servant. It is my partner." The words spread like fire through the crowd. Partner, not pet, not weapon. Partner. The beast struck the leader's blade aside, claws tearing into his armor. Blood sprayed. He fell to the floor, gasping. Defeated, the girl stepped closer, her boots quiet against the blood-stained tiles. She looked down at him, her eyes steady. "You thought humans were prey. You thought we were fragile, but you never understood us. We do not walk alone. We never walk alone." The beast lowered its head, a deep growl echoing like thunder. The leader crawled back, fear breaking the last of his pride. The cadets who watched knew now, the stories they had heard, the rumors of human death worlds, the whispers of creatures that should not exist. All of it was true, and worse. Humans had learned to live with them, to bond with them. Suddenly, the doors at the far end of the cafeteria opened. Academy officers stormed in, their armor shining, their weapons raised. They had been called by the alarms. They had seen the battle through cameras, and yet, even they hesitated at the sight before them. The beast turned its head, eyes glowing brighter. The officers froze, their hands shaking, their courage cracking. The girl raised her hand gently. The beast calmed, its growl fading, its body still. Her control was not control at all. It was trust. It was a bond so deep even death could not break it. The chief officer, an alien with scales like silver, stared in disbelief. "What is this? What have you brought into this academy?" His voice trembled. The girl met his gaze. "I brought only myself," she said quietly. "And what walks with me is the truth of humanity." The officers exchanged uneasy looks. They were trained, armed, and yet not one dared to step forward. The leader of the hunters lay on the ground, broken, whispering in disbelief. "One human, one beast, and already we are defeated." The girl turned, her eyes sweeping the room. Every cadet, every officer felt her calmness press against them like a weight. "You call us weak, you call us fragile, but weakness is a word spoken by those who never faced what we have faced." The beast stepped forward, towering, its shadow stretching across the hall. Cadets shivered, their minds filled with one single thought. If this was one human cadet, then what of the human armies? What of the humans beyond the academy walls? What kind of force could rise when they unleashed their full strength? The girl picked up her coffee cup, the last sip still warm. She drank it slowly, placed it down, and said with a faint smile, "This was only the beginning." The hall remained silent, hearts racing, fear and awe mixing in every soul. The beast stood tall, her partner, her truth, and the galaxy had just seen the first glimpse of humanity's hidden power. The silence in the cafeteria did not last long. Outside in the corridors, the sound of boots thundered. More hunters had arrived, dozens of them, armed and armored. The alarm sirens wailed across the academy, red lights flashing over the walls. Inside, the cadets held their breath. The officers tightened their grip on weapons. The girl stood calmly beside her beast, her face unreadable. The door burst open, and a wave of alien hunters stormed in. Their leader raised his blade and shouted, "End this human abomination!" The beast growled, low and heavy, its eyes glowing brighter than fire, its body tense like a bow ready to release. The girl whispered softly, almost like she was speaking to a friend, "Not yet." The hunters charged, their weapons shining, their battle cries echoing. The ground shook under their numbers. The cadets in the hall ducked for cover, their fear spilling into screams, but the girl simply lifted her cup again, her calmness cutting through the chaos. She sipped slowly, and as she placed the cup down, she nodded once. The beast exploded into motion. It struck the first line of hunters with unstoppable force, claws tearing through armor, teeth breaking steel. Its roar shook the walls. Hunters were lifted off their feet, crushed, ripped apart. The cadets stared, their eyes wide, their hearts racing. Never had they seen such raw power. Never had they believed a single creature could do what armies failed to do. But the most terrifying sight was not the beast itself. It was the human girl standing still, calm as ever, her eyes watching, her hand resting on the table. As if all of this was already decided, the hunters tried to regroup, their commanders barking orders. They circled, firing energy shots. Their beams struck the beast's skin but only burned shallow wounds. The creature roared and struck them down harder, faster, stronger. The chief officer shouted to the girl, his voice breaking, "Call it off before this place is destroyed." The girl turned her head slightly, her eyes soft. "It does not destroy without reason," she said, her voice calm. "It destroys only when forced." The officers exchanged fearful looks, their weapons shaking. How could she speak of such horror with such serenity? A hunter leapt from behind, blade raised high. The beast spun and caught him mid-air, jaws snapping shut. The crunch echoed through the hall. Silence followed. Brawlers. Oaken only by terrified gasps, the leader of the hunters growled, his pride burning. He raised his hand and shouted, "All units, kill the human, kill the beast, now!" The hunters surged again, desperate, their numbers crashing against the beast like waves against a mountain. But each wave broke, shattered, left in ruins. Tables were smashed, walls cracked, smoke filled the air. The cafeteria looked more like a battlefield than a place of study. And still, through all of it, the girl stood quietly. Some cadets whispered in awe, "She is not fighting." Another replied, "She does not need to fight." Suddenly the beast paused, its head raised, its eyes sharper. It sensed something beyond the hunters, something watching. The girl's gaze followed, to the upper corners of the room, the surveillance cameras, their red lights blinking. She knew the truth. The Academy Council was watching. The galaxy's officers were seeing everything. She whispered softly, almost to herself, "Let them see." The beast roared again, louder than before, shaking the entire building. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lights flickered. The hunters stumbled in fear, their courage draining like water from a broken glass. The girl stepped forward now, her boots steady on the blood-stained floor. She raised her hand, and the beast stopped instantly. The sudden silence was more terrifying than the roar. The hunters froze, their blades half raised, their breaths ragged. The girl's eyes swept across them, her voice calm. "You wanted to see weakness. You wanted to laugh at humanity. Now you see the truth." The beast growled softly, its muscles rippling. The hunters shivered. The girl continued, her tone sharper. "We do not show our strength unless we must. We do not unleash our fury unless we are pushed. But when we are pushed, there is no power in this galaxy that can stand." Her words struck deep. "See, Audits gasped. Officers whispered. Even the hunters' faces cracked with fear. Then, without warning, one desperate hunter charged, screaming, his blade aimed for her heart. The beast moved, but the girl raised her hand and said softly, "No." The beast froze, obeying instantly. The hunter's blade stopped an inch from her chest. his eyes wide, his hands shaking, not by his own will but as if some unseen force held him back. The girl looked at him, her gaze sharp, her calm crushing him more than the beast's strength ever could. The hunter dropped his weapon, fell to his knees, trembling, whispering, "This is not human. This is not possible." The girl bent slightly, her voice low but clear. "This is only the beginning." She stepped back, the beast at her side, the hunters broken, the officers frozen, the cadets silent, and far beyond through the cameras, the council watching in their distant halls, their faces pale, their whispers urgent. The clash had begun, but the war of fear had only just started. The cafeteria was ruined, smoke rising from shattered walls, blood staining the floor, weapons scattered like broken toys. Yet in the middle of all this destruction, the human cadet stood calm, her coffee cup empty now, her beast at her side. The hunters who survived were broken. Some lay groaning, others too frightened to move, their weapons forgotten. The officers stood frozen, their eyes locked on the girl. None dared to step forward. None dared to speak first. Far away, in hidden chambers across the academy, the council members watched through glowing screens, their faces pale, their voices tense. "This cannot be," one whispered, his voice shaking. "A human with such a bond." "If one cadet holds this power, what of the rest?" Another said, fear rising. "What is humanity hiding?" Their whispers spread like wildfire, carried through communication lines, reaching distant halls, echoing into fleets across the stars. Back in the cafeteria, the silence broke when a cadet from a reptilian race whispered, She never even fought, H. His voice was trembling. The beast fought for her, and she never moved. Others nodded, their eyes wide with dread. "She only drank coffee," another muttered. "Coffee, while monsters obeyed her will." The story began to grow even before they left the room. Cadets whispered, officers muttered, every word twisted into rumor, every rumor carried down corridors. By the end of the hour, the entire academy buzzed with a single tale, the tale of the human girl who never flinched, who sipped coffee while her beast destroyed hunters. Fear is a powerful thing, stronger than blades, sharper than fire, and that fear spread faster than any command. In training halls, cadets whispered, "Did you hear? The human has a death world beast." In the dorms, voices murmured, "They say it killed 10 hunters in seconds." In the council chambers, leaders argued, "This is no accident. This is a message." The girl walked calmly through the corridors now, her beast following like a shadow. Wherever she stepped, silence followed. Cadets pressed against walls, officers lowered their eyes. None dared to meet her gaze. She carried herself as if she belonged, as if she had always belonged. Not a hint of arrogance, not a trace of fear. Just calm. A group of officers whispered as she passed. "How does she control it?" one asked. "She does not control," another answered quietly. "It follows her because it chooses to." That truth was even more terrifying. The council chamber grew louder, voices clashing. "We must expel her," shouted one. "We cannot. If we show fear, humanity will know," another argued. "Then we must test them, force them to reveal their full strength." The arguments spread beyond the academy, to governors of alien worlds, to admirals of fleets. Soon, the galaxy spoke of only one thing, the human cadet and her beast. But in the academy itself, a darker change took root. The hunters who survived whispered among themselves, their pride shattered, their courage gone. One muttered, "We thought humans were prey." Another said bitterly, "Prey does not carry monsters." They looked at each other and saw fear in their own eyes. The girl returned to the cafeteria the next day, the damage still visible, broken walls, shattered tiles, but new whispers followed her, stronger, sharper. "She is dangerous. She is unstoppable. She is death wrapped in silence." She sat in the same corner, placed her coffee cup on the same table. The beast curled at her feet like a shadow of war. Cadets dared not sit near her. Officers kept their distance, but none could look away. And then something more terrifying happened. A young cadet from an avian race stepped forward, trembling, his voice shaking. "Human," he whispered. "Teach me." Gasps spread, cadets froze, officers stiffened. But the girl only looked at him with calm eyes. She said nothing, only lifted her coffee and drank. The avian cadet dropped to one knee, bowing his head. That single act spread faster than all the rumors. One cadet had knelt. One cadet had asked to learn. The council, watching from afar, felt their fear deepen. If others follow, if she inspires them, humanity will not only frighten us, they will lead us. Outside the academy, fleets prepared, officers argued, governors whispered. All of them felt the same unease. If one human cadet could change the balance of fear, what would an army of them do? In the silence of her corner, the girl sipped her coffee again. The beast raised its head, its eyes glowing faintly. The galaxy trembled, though she had not spoken a single threat. Fear had already begun its war. The academy halls no longer felt like a place of study. They felt like the silent corridors of a fortress. Whispers echoed through every corner. Every cadet spoke of the human girl and her beast. Fear had become the new law. But fear was not the only thing spreading. Something else had begun to rise. Respect and even loyalty. The avian cadet who knelt before her had not been the last. The next day, 2 more cadets, one from an insectoid race, another from a scaled race, walked forward in the cafeteria. They did not mock. They did not laugh. They lowered their heads. "Teach us," they whispered. The officers gasped. Council members watching through hidden screens clenched their fists. This was not what they wanted. Fear was one thing, but unity under a human was another. The girl said nothing. She only looked at them, her calm eyes steady. Her beast beside her, silent but terrifying. She sipped her coffee. The choice was theirs. Soon. Even the hunters who had once attacked her avoided her gaze. Their shame too heavy. Their silence an admission of defeat. The council could not remain quiet any longer. They summoned her to the great chamber, a place where no cadet had ever stood before. She entered with calm steps, her beast following, the massive doors shutting behind them with a thundering echo. The council sat in a half circle, their eyes sharp, their voices cold. "Human cadet," one of them said, his scaled face pale. "Explain yourself. What is this creature? How do you command it?" The girl did not bow. She did not stumble. She only raised her chin slightly, her voice soft. "I do not command it." Gasps spread across the chamber. The council members looked at each other in disbelief. She continued, her words calm but heavy. "This is not my servant. This is my partner, bonded not by chains, but by choice." The beast lowered its head slightly as if agreeing, its red eyes glowing in the chamber's dim light. A council member slammed his fist. "This is impossible. Humans are weak. They cannot bond with monsters of death worlds." The girl's eyes turned toward him, unshaken. "Weak, you call us, because you do not understand us," she said. Her voice sharp as a blade. "You measure strength by weapons, by numbers, by fleets. We measure it by survival." Her words echoed through the chamber, every syllable pressing into the ears of those who heard. "On our worlds, the air itself tries to kill us. The ground poisons us. The storms tear at us. The beasts hunt us without mercy. And yet, we live," she said, her voice rising. "We do not only live, we thrive." A silence fell. A silence heavier than any roar. "You think this beast is a monster?" She gestured toward the creature, its claws shining in the light. "To us, it is family. To us, it is survival. To us, it is proof that no world, no storm, no enemy can break humanity." The council shifted uncomfortably, their faces pale, their pride cracking. "You built fleets, you built empires, you built councils, but you never built resilience." Her voice softened again, calm but firm. "And that is why you fear us." The beast growled, low and powerful. The chamber shook with the sound. The council members flinched, some looking away. One whispered, "If this is one cadet, what of the others?" The girl heard it. She answered without hesitation. "Others exist, each with their own bond, each with their own truth. I am not the only one. I am only the beginning." The council's fear deepened. Their hands trembled. The truth was too much to ignore now. Outside the chamber, the whispers grew louder. Cadets spread the words. "She said she is only the beginning. She said humans never walk alone. She said they thrive where no one else can." Across the academy, the fear was no longer just fear. It was realization. Humanity had not been silent because they were weak. They had been silent because they were waiting. The council tried to regain control. Human cadet, you will return to your quarters. This matter will be decided by higher powers, one of them declared. His voice forced, the girl nodded once, calm as ever. She turned, her beast following, the massive doors opening, but before leaving she looked back, her eyes steady, her voice soft but cutting. Decide what you want, council, but understand this. Humanity has already decided. The doors closed behind her, leaving the council in silence, their fear unspoken, their pride wounded. Outside, cadets looked at her not with mockery but with awe. The avian cadet bowed again, others followed, and in the shadows of the academy, the galaxy's balance had begun to shift. The human truth was no longer hidden. It was rising, and no power in the galaxy could stop it. The academy was no longer the same place. Once it had been a fortress of pride, a symbol of order for the galaxy. But now, every hall carried whispers, every chamber trembled with fear. Every cadet looked over their shoulder, thinking of one face, one beast, one truth. The human cadet walked through those halls with steady steps, her beast padding beside her. She did not speak, she did not boast, but silence itself followed her like a crown. Cadets of many races bowed their heads as she passed, some out of fear, some out of respect, others out of something new, something dangerous. Loyalty. The officers whispered to each other, their voices sharp but hushed. If more cadets follow her, if more races kneel, she will not be a student, she will be a leader. The council, hidden behind their sealed chambers, argued without end, their voices cracked with panic. We must contain this before it spreads, one shouted. We cannot contain what we do not understand, another replied. Then we must strike before it is too late, another growled. But his hands shook, because he knew, too late had already arrived. News traveled faster than fleets, faster than orders, faster than fear itself. Within days, rumors of the human cadet reached distant colonies, alien markets, and even the outer fleets. They said she drank coffee while monsters obeyed her. They said she destroyed hunters without lifting a finger. They said she spoke truths that broke councils. And the most frightening rumor of all, they said she was not the only one. Governors of alien worlds gathered in secret. Admirals of fleets held emergency councils. Merchants whispered in shadowed ports. Priests muttered in their temples. All spoke of the same question. If one human cadet could do this, what would humanity become when united? Back at the academy, the girl sat once more in the ruined cafeteria. The tables still broken, the tiles still stained, her coffee steaming in her cup. The beast curled quietly at her feet. Cadets filled the room, but none dared sit close. They sat at a distance, eyes fixed on her, waiting for any word, any movement. As if even her silence was a command, the avian cadet who first knelt spoke again, his voice louder this time. Teach us. This time more cadets echoed, their voices trembling but true. Teach us. Teach us. Their whispers grew into a chorus. The officers watching from the doorway paled. The council watching from hidden screens froze. They could not believe what they were seeing. Alien cadets from across the galaxy turning toward a human for guidance. The girl did not answer. She only sipped her coffee, her calmness more powerful than any speech, her silence louder than any roar. The beast raised its head, its eyes glowing faintly, and every cadet fell silent, waiting, listening far above in the council's private chambers. The highest voices of the galaxy debated, their fear naked. We underestimated them for too long, one muttered. We thought humans were fragile, another said, his voice trembling. But they are the storm we never prepared for. This cadet, a third voice whispered, she is not an exception. She is a warning. The room fratria. Quiet, the weight of those words pressing on every heart, back in the cafeteria. The girl finished her cup. She placed it gently on the table, her eyes soft, her face calm. Then she stood. The cadets leaned forward, their breaths caught. She looked at them, her voice quiet, almost a whisper, but it carried through the hall. This was only training. The words fell like a blade into silence. Gasps spread, officers shuddered, the council watching paled. Training, one officer muttered under his breath. If this is training, what is war? The beast stepped forward, its shadow stretching across the floor, its claws glinting, its growl low but steady. Every cadet in the hall felt it in their bones. The girl turned, walking slowly out of the cafeteria, her beast at her side. She did not look back. She did not need to. The galaxy was already behind her. As the doors closed, cadets whispered the words over and over. Only training. Only training. Fear and awe blending until they were the same. In the highest halls of the council, silence fell. Leaders who once mocked humanity now stared at each other, their faces pale, their pride shattered. They finally understood. Humanity had never been weak. Humanity had been waiting, and now the waiting was over.